Welcome to the Feeling Loudly podcast, a show about human emotion and the way we navigate this life of trials and triggers and treasures with the help of astrology and tarot. I'm your host, Jana. I'm an astrologer, a tarot reader, and an Akashic Records reader, and I'm here to help you do this messy life with as much grace, ease, and pleasure as possible. Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 11 of 22 Days of Tarot. Today is card 10 of the Major Arcana, the Wheel of Fortune. And I'm just going to give you a full disclosure heads up. I am very loopy today, so this is probably going to be a bit of a loopy episode, and I'll try to keep it short. Although whenever I say that, it tends to go long, so what do you know? My little inner rebel. Rebelling against myself. Okay, let's get into it. So the Wheel of Fortune. Today, let's do our little daily check-in first. So today was kind of like it was a significant day. There were some very important conversations that were had today. A lot of perspective was gained. It is Wednesday. Wednesday is connected to Mercury Day, and so I made a little offering to Mercury this morning for clarity, and I did feel like I got a lot of clarity, which was really great and like anxiety reducing. And I found myself communicating in a different way and being able to kind of like receive people's words in a different way. And I'll get to the Oracle card later, but I do feel like kind of name dropping it first because it is significant. The Oracle card of the day was Perception. And I thought that was really interesting paired with the Wheel of Fortune, because in this Wheel of Fortune, we see this hand reaching down from the sky toward this grand wheel that's positioned above a waterfall. And there's all this like paint that's kind of flying off of the wheel, and so it's not fully formed, and it almost seems like this hand from above is reaching in to kind of either intervene or help turn the wheel. But there's also a sort of wild quality to it because, again, the paint is like splattering all over the place. The wheel seems incomplete. It's like you can't see the full circle. It's kind of like it's in the process of being created. And paired with Perception, that seemed really cool because there's so many ways you can look at this card. I could look at this and be like, look at this hand from the sky that's intervening in our fate, which is often what the Wheel of Fortune is kind of about, is like fated experiences, fated encounters, the direction that life takes when we don't have a whole lot of control. We kind of have to like submit to the wheel. The wheel turns and it lands where it lands, and that's what happens. But there's also an element of fortune and luck that plays into this. And so I thought it was very cool that when I shifted my perception of this card, I started to see it as something that wasn't fully formed. And for someone who has mixed feelings about the concept of fate and destiny, that's really cool to see a Wheel of Fortune card that depicts an unfinished wheel. It's like we are constructing our own fate and working alongside the gods, the spirits, nature itself, and other people's free will along with our own in order to create our destinies. And coming off of, I think it was, I don't even know if it was yesterday or 2 days ago when I was talking about kind of obsessive focus, and yeah, it would have been Strength Day. So 2 days ago when I was talking about fixation on outcomes and trying to kind of like get a clear sense of the future and trying to know the answers and trying to get certainty. The Wheel of Fortune kind of upends that by saying, well, you know, like you have a hand in this. If you're asking that question, you should also turn that question back on yourself and ask, like, what outcome do you want to see? Because you have a hand in the creation of your destiny. And that's really how I see fate and free will, this mixture of the two, where maybe there are lessons that we're meant to learn, but there are many different routes we can take to get to that lesson. Maybe there are life experiences that we're meant to have, but those can play out in very different ways with very different flavors, with many different people and under many different conditions. And we get to kind of weave the tapestry of our life. And we may have tools that are given to us and a sort of template that's given to us, but we get to create. And as someone who divines for a living, like who practices tarot and works with the Akashic Records and gives people a lot of answers, I always or often have to remind people that you have free will and I'm not the arbiter of your destiny. I don't sit at the other side of the table and tell you what's going to happen to you and that you can't change it and that you just have to accept your fate and like move along through your life as if you're a little robot who's just following the script, or like an actor who's just following the script. And there is something to be said about the whole notion of like the Matrix. And I actually got another oracle card today that was called the Divine Matrix, and I just remembered, and it was about, again, altering your perception and imagining that the things you desire, the things you want, are already within your possession, and then going after them, and imagining that just the identification of the desire is in a way like a recognition that it can happen. And of course, like barring jumping off a cliff and being able to fly and all sorts of other like class privilege things and like socioeconomical and so many other factors that like prevent people from doing what they want. So it's not to get all spiritual bypassy about it, but there is something to the idea of kind of taking control of our destiny and asserting our free will and making choices about which direction we want to head in, as opposed to just acting like passive recipients in life. And that's something I kind of go in and out of. Like I feel like lately I've been switching back and forth a lot between two modes of feeling like I have to do everything on my own versus feeling like I'm kind of just at the whims of the universe. And I'll find a happy medium often, but I do tend to kind of oscillate between those two perspectives. And so to get a little perspective shift today from many different sources that was like, you have a major hand in this. Yes, the hand of whoever might be coming down from the sky to like tip tap on that wheel and shift it and turn it. But the wheel is not fully formed. The design is not completely designed. There's a lot that's left to be said, a lot that's left to be created. And we get to be collaborators in that process. At least that's my perspective. And I don't have all the answers. And there's a humility that comes from the Wheel of Fortune that I didn't really connect to until today. And in part, that's because, like, you'll notice the deeper you get into spiritual circles and yeah, that there is a lot of ego. There's a lot of ego, and it's not everywhere. I mean, at all. And I think, you know, having discernment and sort of like weeding out the energies that are very deeply individualistic and self-serving as opposed to more community-oriented and wise is a really important skill to kind of develop as you deepen into any spiritual practice, and just having that radar. But it's something that we all have to confront. Like, I have to confront my own ego and my practices all the time. I have a whole bunch of fucking Leo on my chart. Like, I have to grapple with that frequently to make sure that I'm not like blowing myself up and failing to recognize that the gifts that I possess are given to me. And yeah, I've worked my ass off to cultivate them, and you know, but it's a balance. It's a balance of being sort of the vessel for creativity to flow through you, or for wisdom to flow through you, and recognizing that that is a collaboration. Like, you are receiving and passing it along. And so I think, like, I don't know, I'm chewing on this with the Wheel of Fortune. Again, it's something that I haven't quite attributed it or connected it, I guess, to ego and humility before, or pride and humility, I should say. But it feels very, very here, like recognizing the amount of control that we have and also the amount of control that we don't have. And it kind of reminds me of the serenity prayer, like, God, give me the, I'm going to butcher this because I can't remember it, the wisdom to know the difference prayer, however the start of that goes, where it's like, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. There it is. Yeah, so that is very Wheel of Fortune. I recognize what is within my control. I recognize what I can affect and what I can't. And in doing that, that brings in a sense of balance and release over the minutia that we can't do much about. And that sort of combination of acceptance, but also agency, is where we kind of gel and like find our momentum and start to create the life that we really want for ourselves in concert with the spirits and in concert with others and in collaboration with others. So, drawing into our prompt for the day was, what is going on around me? And this question took me by surprise because I did not at all remember drafting this question. I thought it was going to be something totally different. But it was interesting. And one thing that came up, I kind of turned, I think, straight to bibliomancy for this question. And it was about the passage that I got, which I'm going to try to find in my screenshots right now so that I can read it to you. The passage that I got was about like the mixing of science and spirituality. And I thought that was so fascinating. And it's something I ended up talking about on Instagram later in the day. The sort of like over-sciencing of stuff that can lead to like a very sterile approach to life where we can't appreciate the soul and magic. And that's one way that we can take science too far. And then on the other hand, we can take spirituality and woo too far by rejecting science. And we see that among like anti-vaxxers in new agey circles and folks who spiritually bypass and tell like marginalized people that they just need to like think more positively in order to overcome their oppression. And so there's a lot of both, right? Like people who are rejecting reality and then people who are clinging with a death grip to reality and rejecting the mystical. And so there's again this like happy medium that can be struck and that we, I think, could benefit a lot from striking, where we find kind of that center point and recognize when we might be veering a little bit too far into one direction or the other, and trying to find that sort of marriage between the two. I just remembered where the quote came from, and it was actually from another oracle card that I pulled. And I don't super feel like reading it, but the card was called Modern, and it was from the Modern Nirvana Oracle deck. And it was about how the merging of technology or the evolution of technology can be kind of beautiful and spiritual in itself. And the ancient wisdom and traditional wisdom is, of course, beautiful and potent and powerful. And they both have a lot to offer us. And that's something I need to be reminded of all the time, because I tend to like go hard in the direction of like ancient traditional wisdom and sometimes get really angry about technology and angry about AI and all of this shit that I think is like messing with our world in really kind of disturbing ways. But there's also beauty to it, and there's also potential. And when we can't see that potential, then we can't really help create it or usher it in. And so that sight and that ability to see possibilities, very Wheel of Fortune, is a really important factor in steering our future. To see the future is kind of the first step in actually creating it. And there's something here about being able to set your sights on that. And that energy is something we've been seeing starting really with the Chariot a few days ago, and then moving into Strength, where we were kind of sustaining that and facing our fears and moving through challenges, into the Hermit, where we're kind of asked to go inward and like self-examine and ask, like, are we getting off track here? What self-discovery needs to happen? How can I kind of calm the ego and turn more into the spirit of oneness and nature and connection? And now the Wheel of Fortune is like, and now let's like step even farther ahead and start working with the gods to steer the ship and to find the path. So that was the message from the Oracle deck. And then our little intuitive exercise was bibliomancy. And I did both bibliomancy with actual books, and then also with this little bibliomancy oracle that's on Tumblr. Tumblr, oh my god, the days of Tumblr. But I want to read you this really, really, really gorgeous poem called I Forgot My Skin Was Ruin by Eileen R. Tabios. And the bibliomancy excerpt that I saw was I forgot we accepted a colonizer's alphabet in exchange for electricity. And I was like, whew, okay, let's go read the full thing. So hold please while I pull this up. It's a little bit long, but it's really, really beautiful. Okay, and again, this is called I Forgot My Skin Was Ruin. I forgot Muhammad welcoming Jews and Christians, for they too are people of the book. I forgot the air of a country where the love for a woman is the love for a man is the love for Allah. I forgot authenticity always wanders. I forgot defining ambition as the helpless compulsion to write songs for women who will never wear headscarves. I forgot we accepted a colonizer's alphabet in exchange for electricity. I forgot he learned her body as a white finger holding back starlight. I forgot symmetries shaped by memory lapses. I forgot the empress humming calculus. I forgot the weaver who formed holes shaped as tears. I forgot you, there with blue veins cracking, transparent membrane. I forgot preening over labyrinth. I forgot the skin of jasmine mirroring sky. I forgot a girl loving marble enough to freeze into a swoon. I forgot a white azalea quieting shade into a girl. I forgot desiring most when it rained. I forgot the plankton beneath the wave radiating from green to gold with the onset of wet sunlight. I forgot how dusk enhanced conversations. I forgot cheer dispersed through fishnet stockings. I forgot mutual funds is an oxymoron. I forgot the momentary immortality of a new car. I forgot Manolo Blahnik's elegy for crocodiles. I forgot how effectively lineage seduces. I forgot the Bengal tiger mimicking a helicopter's dance. I forgot abashed aubergine. I forgot vivid is subjective. I forgot fear is a loss. I forgot beauty can be reasonable. I forgot envying the thorns. I forgot a pedestal bloodied by what who leapt from it. I forgot belting my jeans with a used halo. I forgot my feet mischievously walking 2 inches above ground. I forgot a girl shrieking as her swing soared toward a boiling sky. I forgot your fingers reaching to caress the hollows formed when my knees bent. I forgot the violet bruise from a rifle's intimacy. I forgot birds forming a toupee for trees. I forgot the big-bellied man whispering murder can remain mere story over a cigar smoked. Down to the length of my then enchanting thumb. I forgot your hands paused before my black brassiere. I forgot you reminding, honey, angels may fall, but they never die. I forgot to be an angel is to be alone in a smudged gown, fingers poking through holes burnt by epistemology. I forgot drinking from ancient goblets whose cracked rims snagged lips into a bleeding burning. I forgot my skin was ruin. I forgot the baby rattlesnake staining asphalt green after it was ran over by a neighbor who, it was rumored, adored massive mahogany libraries jam-packed with cracked leather covers, yellowing pages, and wisdom best left forgotten. I forgot the difficulty in dying. I forgot the world saw me as a humpback. So, again, that's from Eileen R. Tabios, and it comes from the collection Invent Story with ST in parentheses, so it looks like inventory or invent story. Very cool name. I'll link the book below in case you want to go buy that. This is the first poem I've become aware of, and it's really incredible. It's from, looks like about 8 years ago. And so like this, this hum, this murmur, this rhythm of forgetting, but also recognition, the remembrance and the forgetting. It was really, really like magical. And I kind of want to like just stare at every single line to absorb it because it's just so thick with meaning. And I loved that we even saw tarot archetype come in here with the Empress appearing. And then magically, I did bibliomancy in actual books. And I'm going to turn it over to the screenshots because a couple of them actually had tarot symbolism coming through too, which was pretty dope. Let me see if I can find it. I found it. Okay. So this is from Emily Dickinson's, the selected poems of Emily Dickinson. The soul selects her own society, then shuts the door. On her divine majority, obtrude no more. Unmoved, she notes the chariots pausing at her low gate. Unmoved, an emperor is kneeling upon her mat. I've known her from an ample nation, choose one, then close the valves of her attention like stone. And so there's this like deep kind of focus selection process. The soul selects her own society, then shuts the door on her divine majority, obtrude no more. And then we have mention of both the chariot and the emperor. And so I thought it was so cool that the empress came up in that poem, and then the emperor and the chariot came through in this poem. And the emperor and the empress are a pair. And there's this element of, you can go back and listen to those episodes if you want to, but the sort of like wealth of spirit that the empress embodies and the receptivity, and then this purpose and direction and sort of sturdiness and leadership that the emperor embodies. And this poem seems to kind of capture both. Like it sounds like there's an emperor kneeling upon her mat that she's receiving, but then she also makes this very directed choice. Choose one, then close the valve of her attention like stone. And it's got me thinking about the power of choice with the Wheel of Fortune. How, again, like when we make choices, we are directing our future. And it can be scary because we might cut off other possibilities in making a choice. And so often people get stuck in analysis paralysis because they're afraid that something better is going to come along, or like, God forbid, they like move in the wrong direction and then miss something else or whatever. But there's this present idea that our realities can rearrange themselves in order to support us. And so sometimes it's a matter of just making the choice and going for it and committing to it and saying, like, I'll figure it out and we'll figure it out. So that's all I got, I think. The song of the day, which I think was a White Denim song, actually. And I have yet to watch the video myself, so we'll both be surprised if we go watch it after this. But the video, or the song, I'm having a lot of trouble with technology today, so excuse the pauses. The song was, in fact, a White Denim song called Mirrored in Reverse. Mirrored in Reverse. And the lyrics from this song, which I'm not going to read in full, basically speak to, again, like this idea of forgetting and remembering. And then there's this one part of the song where it goes, here's a sign, will you read it all alone, turning it round in your mind, can't believe it. And the Wheel of Fortune and like this day in general has felt like it's been riddled with signs and synchronicities. And I kind of think about that as the language of the universe and the way that it speaks to us when we might not be completely tuned into our own knowing, and we require signs to kind of feel into what's going on up there. And again, the question of the day was, what is happening around me? And so there's even like coming back to the question, it's like, oh, whoa. The meaning of that question was like tuning into what's happening around you and having that awareness of synchronicity and opening your eyes. Will you read it all alone, turning it around in your mind? Like that, here's a sign. And so often we're getting hit with signs all the time. And especially when we're tuned out, they can get louder and louder and louder, trying to capture our attention and trying to communicate something to us. Maybe if we are stepping off track. And that's the way that the hand of spirit or whoever, our guides, whatever, the universe, Mother Nature, will help us course correct if we are getting off a path that leads us toward important experiences. And so that is essential to kind of just like wake up to the language of the universe and to start listening is very much Wheel of Fortune awareness, is tuning into the great mystery of the universe and listening and opening up. I've had really powerful experiences. I've mentioned a couple, but I've had like incredible moments where I've asked for a sign and I've gotten it so clear and loud, and it is just, it's so wild. The universe is so wild, and I love the mystery of it all. And coming back to that initial message around like kind of hyper intellectualizing everything, I love the mystery. The mystery is what keeps life lifing. It's what keeps interest alive, and it's what, yeah, like I love science. I love discovery. I love understanding some of the mystery, and I think some things are better left kind of to wander in the ether a little bit unexamined. So I will call it there. Thank you for listening, and just a like huge humbled and genuine thank you to everyone who has actually been tuning in. I tend to think that nobody wants to hear this kind of shit, and it's always really amazing to me when I see that people have actually listened to an episode. I'm like, wow, okay, cool, thanks, that's super rad. So I appreciate you, and I'm just sending you a lot of love, and as usual, you can find the links from this episode down below if you feel like digging into anything any further. Otherwise, I will talk to you tomorrow. Take care.